Welcome to the HOLDO MANEUVER podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike. We're two hardworking dads trying to immerse ourselves in Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
This is your first time listening and or watching, and this sometimes short form Star Wars podcast will share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away.
Hey guys, what did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K?
Did he notice all those wrinkles on his face?
What big ears I have?
Nope. HDMI.
HDMI. That's my best Yoda. That's all I got. I hope it worked.
Hey, Adam. We've now done 37 episodes.
Like in a row?
Yeah. Hopefully we don't do any more episodes on the way to the parking lot.
That's pretty impressive. 37 in a row is pretty cool. I couldn't do
it. So little hint to what this episode theme is going to be about. We figured appropriately that the 37th episode of the HOLDO MANEUVER podcast, we'd have Adam on for, and the three of us would discuss Kevin Smith and kind of like the View Askew's influence of the Star Wars films and everything that's kind of entailed that. So that's like the Clerks animated series, any of the Kevin Smith movies that he's directed or been a part of.
Essentially anything he's done has some Star Wars reference in it somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of the canvas for this episode. So it's going to be kind of very free form in that respect to all of that. Quick, just kind of reminder, like if you hadn't or haven't seen it or watched it, listened to it yet, we did do a mini bonus episode recently. Yeah, it was like maybe 15 minutes long, talking about the season 3 Mandalorian trailer. Adam was on that as well with our buddy Vactor. So if you haven't watched that or listened to it, check that out wherever you listen and watch to our stuff. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get into talking about the View Askew universe and how it's been influenced by a galaxy far, far away. So I guess kind of the first thing to bring up is for both of you, starting with Adam and then Mike, what is kind of like your first step into like the View Askew universe with as far as like Kevin Smith films and stuff like that?
Oh, Clerks.
Same.
Yeah. I saw the first, like, I think the first time I saw it, I was still, I would say, immature in movies as far as like my my view towards how I watched movies was very immature. I still watched them with like a different kind of eye. And it took me, I would say, a little bit longer to appreciate Clerks than when I originally watched it. And then when I started working in film and things like that, I realized, holy crap, wow, what he did was magical in that movie. And he pulled from if you watch Comic Book Men, like just his friends, he made a movie with his friends, and that's like if your aspirations are to make movies, what better way to do it than with your friends? And I think that was my introduction, and then I think I saw Chasing Amy after that. Probably was my second one. And then just I always watched everything.
Yep.
But Dogma's my all-time favorite.
I haven't seen that in so long.
You can't get it anywhere.
I know.
I have the DVD, which is like thank you.
I was able to get the Blu-ray of that. So like for me, I saw his movies like in a very weird order, because the first one I saw was Jane Silent Bob Strike Back.
Really?
Which, yeah, that's a weird one to see first, seeing as how it has all of those like references back to the movies before.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I saw that with my dad in theaters, so that was an interesting thing in and all of itself, just to watch a movie like that with my dad. Mike knows. Mike's met my dad. But,
a few times in the 30 years.
But yeah, and then I think the next one I saw was when Mike and I were in marching band together, someone brought Dogma on
Yep.
one of like those coach buses like
Mhm.
that like you take
Yeah.
with stuff, and they didn't tell the like the chaperones or the teachers that it was like an R-rated movie. So we just started watching Dogma like on that bus, all of us together, and then luckily because I don't remember if it like the sound was playing through the bus or if people had headphones that they could plug in to listen
No,
to it.
it was through the speakers, so everyone could hear
Oh,
it.
okay. Oh yeah, yeah. So
That's amazing.
yeah, so I don't think we got to watch all of it
Oh
just
no,
because
I got
once
turned
like
off pretty quick.
yeah like once the first like F bomb like landed, we were like, oh
There's
okay, I guess
there's
uh,
hundreds of them in there.
yeah. But so then I rented that after so that I could actually like finish watching it. Um,
Yeah,
but then
that's the
like
one movie of his I've only seen like one time, and
oh man, yeah. And then after that was Mallrats, which that one is my favorite of his movies still because I
it's
think
up there for me. I for
Brody's
sure.
my favorite character.
Oh, Brody's the best. Yeah.
I feel like I identify the most with Brody out of all of the like well, people would say Silent Bob, but like I think as far as um the characters within that universe would probably at least with like how he asks like weird like questions related to like the geeky universe stuff in that.
You just want a chocolate covered pretzel, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Oh, I think yeah, right there. There's my old shirt. The say if you would you like a chocolate covered pretzel? I knew it was somewhere over there, but yeah. I bought
Nailed
one of
it.
those in action figures that they used to sell that was like done on like the Clerks animation style of that. Um, I also suggest picking up, I think it was Arrow uh, distribution. They're kind of like a niche release studio that kind of not like Criterion, but like where they do like these kind of they get the rights to like different films that they do like these massive like bonus feature packed sets of. They did a, a set for Mallrats that's pretty good. That Kevin Smith supervised, and it's like a new like HD like remaster and transfer on that.
Mm.
Um, so I remember he said they made my crappy movie look fantastic.
Yeah, for me, I definitely watch Clerks first, and then watch Mallrats the most.
I think
But
Clerks was the last one I saw. Weirdly,
and then
yeah,
Chasing Amy is, I think, my favorite
nice.
of all his.
That one's really, it's just a really good one. Just, I mean, I don't know if it would fly today. Like, imagine
Oh
a guy
yeah,
doing to like turn a lesbian woman straight. I don't
Yeah,
know if that kind of thing would go today.
probably
But
not.
it's
yeah,
still some. But it's the thing. That's the thing with the times. It's just some things don't hold up, and this is where everybody is becoming more aware
Mhm.
of things like that. But Chasing Amy still, I think it's just good character work. The character
Mhm.
work in the movie is good. And I
Also,
love that.
I love Joe. I'm a fan of Joey Lorraine Adams. So Lauren Adams, whatever you say her name. I
yeah.
think she's underutilized in the acting world.
I think that was the movie where Kevin Smith and her were still dating at that point too,
Right? It's
or
some there's some story where they were
it might have
dating,
been
or
after
yeah.
because I think they were together like during Mallrats. I know that he like dated her at one point.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, although I with Clerks, I definitely ended up um enjoying that movie a lot more as I worked at Blockbuster longer and longer years ago, just because, you know, kept and then to the point where there was a like a regular customer that would come into Blockbuster that called me clerk, just because that's what he would just he because he knew I liked Kevin Smith and
Mhm.
he would always come in there and like ask me for like movie recommendations and stuff like that. And he would even when I was starting to transfer to like different stores like around New York State, he would actually go to like the different stores to still ask me the question. So I was like, I mean, that's kind of cool,
Bu-
I guess.
Business is business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. That's one thing I do miss about like there not being like really video rental stores anymore is that like not having someone to like recommend movies to,
Mhm.
like in that same capacity.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
No,
It's
you can do it on YouTube and just get bashed for your picks.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
true. It's very interesting to think of it in that sense of like, because you even people, even strangers, you would ask about a movie when you were
Mhm.
in Blockbuster or your mom and pop video rental shop. You know, you would just be like, "Hey, what did you think of this?" Like, if anybody's, I mean, it's crazy to think
Mhm.
that that has gone from like it doesn't even exist anymore. It's
No,
gone.
it's
well,
rare.
unless you go to Bend, Oregon.
Well,
Yeah,
Blockbuster exists there.
Yeah,
There's small little places that try to do it still that I keep seeing pop up, but I know in New York City there's one
oh yeah,
that
I found
still
one in
does
Tucson recently too.
like, but
But yeah,
yeah, it's something that was huge and just died.
that kind of takes us into like some of like the references, like just like within Clerks alone, like of all this to stuff to Star Wars, and that there's like the whole thing with
Mm.
like Randall and Dante talking about which movie is better, Jedi or Empire.
And
Um,
that really helped me like Star Wars more
yeah,
because
because
of like
that's
they're
a good
having this
argument too.
conversation that like you don't hear anywhere else.
yeah,
Like it's not
yeah.
about
Yeah,
sports. It's not about the like. It's about something I cared about, and I was like, "Oh, you can do that!" Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
Because
what
I think a lot. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. That's what was so cool about what Kevin Smith did. You know, he wasn't afraid to just be like, "This is what me and my friends do, so here you
mm,
go." That's what was so cool about Clerks, is that he didn't abide by kind of any rules. He just kind of was like, because no one ever talked. You don't. There were no movies that talked about Star Wars in
right.
the in the in depth that he did. It was might have been mentioned, but then he just brought it to another level and made me for sure definitely appreciate Star Wars more, because I don't even think I've talked to my friends about it in depth like he did in that movie, because that's just a conversation he was having with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just like all like the conversations in there, like of stuff that you might not necessarily have thought about before,
Yeah.
like with Randall bringing up the fact that there was just like a bunch of contractors that were
Mm-hmm.
on the second Death Star. And he's like, it wasn't even finished. So
Yeah,
they were still on it when it got blown up again.
yeah, just
So he's,
regular people, blue collar workers.
yeah,
Which,
I,
speaking of that, why were they even on the like? How could you be on the Death Star when it's like half built? I've always wondered that. Like,
Like, where did they have like living quarters? Is that what you
yeah,
mean?
it's just I just like how is it pressurized to be able to walk around inside of it? All this, I don't know. There's all this other aspects of okay, this thing is a ball that's broken in half. They're still building the other side, but we're still using it to destroy planets. Like we're still using it as a base. Just
Yeah,
seems ineffective by the Empire. Like, what were you thinking?
that's their vulnerability.
Yeah.
That and that I mean it represents their vulnerability. Like, they
Mm.
think it's their greatest weapon, and it's actually their biggest vulnerability.
Yeah. Just
yeah. Well, because patience is only like a Jedi virtue. It's not a Sith virtue. So they're
It's
like,
true. Yeah,
we need to get in there now. Um,
yeah,
yeah, like just like stuff like that, like within those movies, like it's like our kind of like thoughts you'd have like about like these stories that not every like say not necessarily anybody was like putting in place, like you said, like into like movies or TV. Um, but then by placing like conversations like this into that, you would get that. And then like a lot of the stuff, like specifically for like the Star Wars references within his movies, a lot of the times came more from like Dante and Randall.
mm.
Uh, like the majority of the time, uh, like again in like Clerks 2, with the whole argument between like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and that. But
yeah.
there's only one return, and it's not of the king, it's of the Jedi.
Mm. I don't even have listed the Clerks 3 references he had. Like,
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch in that too. Because I think yeah, there's stuff in there like about he put like that stuff in the script, and he's like, oh, we can't talk about that. We're gonna get sued by Disney.
mm.
So,
Yep.
but Or like what are as far as like some of the references or like homages and stuff that has like shown up within like the VSQ movies, what do you think are like maybe your favorites and like maybe some of the more like clever or like not like as in your face as like the Dante and Randall discussions about like the movies, but just like stuff you kind of like put like little tiny like nods and stuff too in the films.
I don't know if I can get that specific, but
For me, it's just uh, Carrie in Dogma as a nun. Like just having her be a nun.
that was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh, Jay, that's what I meant. I didn't mean Dogma. I have Dogma on my brain, but yeah, Jalen's like her being a nun. I just like the cameos. But as far as getting specifics, I honestly, I mean, the faux lightsaber battle with
Oh
Mm.
Mark
yeah.
Hamill, like those, like that
Not
is
again.
Yeah, I like that.
just like,
I think George Lucas gonna sue somebody.
Yep.
yeah, like that's one that always pops into my head. But although even when he in Mallrats when he's trying to use the Force the
Yep. I
entire
Oh
was going
yeah.
to mention that just now. Like,
yeah, I stole it from you. My
no,
apologies.
you're good. You're good. Lunchbox here watched Jedi last night.
Knock it off. There's like one of his only lines in it too is like the adventure excitement. A Jedi craves not these things. But
So
yeah, I don't know.
clever.
Like
All of them are clever.
there's
Like
that there's
clever.
in Zack and Miri there's a whole like premise of one of the
It's
movies that they're
yeah.
shooting in that's Star Wars based.
The whole
Mhm.
so they do what all six of them at the time
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were building the whole all those sets and then yeah, it all got destroyed. Oh, that was sad. That's a funny movie. I just watched that recently too. Zack and Miri.
it's better
Those
than it should have been. That's I just Seth Rogen. I can't take him for very long.
oh, he's one of those guys for you.
Mm.
Is it his
He's
laugh?
it's just I don't know. It's his laugh. It's I don't see I he's good in a side role. Just, I don't need him in a main role.
Is your favorite scene in Chippendale Rescue Rangers when Seth Rogen runs into Seth Rogen, Seth runs into Seth Rogen?
Didn't watch it, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay. His so it's not really a spoiler, but like his character runs into Mantis from Kung Fu Panda
Mm.
and Pumbaa from Jon Favreau's photorealistic animated Lion King. Because that movie's not live action, so people shouldn't call it live action.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely not live action.
What do you mean? Those are real animals talking.
I guess
I
the
guess
land.
there's one shot, one live action shot in that movie, but Jon Favreau won't say what the shot in the movie is. That's the
Because he
live
doesn't
action
know.
shot.
He's making it up.
He's
He just
just making stuff up as he goes along.
it's funny you mentioned John Favreau because in one of the articles I posted in there after reading through it, Kevin Smith talks about the Star Wars movie he would have made. And after he goes into the long spiel about it, he goes, that's why you give it to John Favreau, not me. So there's that little.
I mean,
I, there was some, I don't remember if it's just like an internet show or if it was something that was on TV, but there was used to be this show that was like a round table of people. Um, and I think it was like them either talking about, I think it was them like talking about film. And there was an episode of it that had Kevin Smith and Jon Favreau on it like years and years and years ago,
Hmm.
way before like The Mandalorian ever came out or anything like that. And there's a whole discussion of them like back and forth, like geeking out about Star Wars in it.
Mhm.
I'll try to find a link to it so I can put it in the show notes. But it's a cool like conversation because it's just like them going back and forth, like talking about their favorite stuff like within the movies.
Mhm.
And you can just see like how much both of them like. And I mean, you can already see that now, like watching Mandalorian. Like it's basically Jon Favreau like picking up toys and playing with them in live action, more or less. But yeah, it's kind of like in that same vein as like those Disney Gallery like kind of specials they've done, like where it's like Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy and um Deborah Chow like sitting around the
Right.
table talking about how they made the episodes. It's kind of like in that same vein.
Okay.
Uh, but with you guys talking about chasing Amy earlier, that also reminded me of the what the F is a Nubian from
Mhm.
that as well too,
Yep.
with Hooper basically like saying that Vader was like a spiritual brother.
Hmm.
Uh, and just because James Earl Jones did the voice too as well. So I liked all
Yeah.
of. Well, so you said there was what was the other thing that you had found, Mike, with Kevin Smith?
Uh, there's the one where he talks about he would not direct a Marvel or Star Wars movie because it's a fool's errand because of the rabid fandoms and you'll just piss everybody off. That's why he doesn't
Okay.
want to ever direct Star Wars or Marvel material.
That's interesting because I remember Ryan Johnson uh, talking about that. How he was uh, like there will be people that there's going to be people that inevitably don't like it, and
Hmm.
his was like, I mean, people didn't. There were people just like hating on his, and I think that they didn't like the chances he took in the movie, because they were outside the realm of like their boyhood Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly certain that Kevin Smith has praised that movie.
Yeah,
Or
he was in The Force Awakens somewhere, I think, or at least he visited the set.
mhm.
He might have voiced one of the multiple stormtroopers in 7, 8, or 9 too.
Yeah,
He there's something he's credited as various artists or various voices.
Makes
There.
yeah.
sense.
Oh, it's not a link.
Okay.
It was on YouTube. Oh, it's on YouTube now.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try that again. But
We'll put this in the show notes for you so you guys know what we're talking about right now.
nah,
Everybody's like, "What's happening?"
just leave it as a mystery.
That's that's what you want to do. Keep the viewer hanging.
Yeah.
So they tune into episode 38 in a row.
That was
Yeah.
Clerks 3, right?
Oh man, Clerks 3. I've only watched that once because it was emotional.
Yeah, same. I bawled my eyes out, and I shouldn't have at that movie. I feel like,
I've definitely been more emotional as I've gotten older. Anyway, and
yeah.
I think even like Kevin Smith has talked about that as he's gotten older and he went through his heart attack
Mm.
and everything. He's definitely I mean, that stuff has to make you more emotional, even if he hasn't talked about it. I've just assumed that it does.
Like
But
he's
he,
one. He'll post reactions of him like saying this made me cry and all that, and then he like argues with the people calling him out for being a quote unquote wuss because he cried in a movie or a TV show, or of the fact that his script Mallrats is mentioned in Captain Marvel and
yeah, it's
all
isn't
that.
Mallrats what Stan Lee's reading? Isn't he
Yeah.
reading Mallrats?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, in Captain Marvel.
yeah,
Mm. He's on the bus.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's reading Mallrats. That's a good little scene. That was his
Well,
last cameo, wasn't it? Stan Lee's.
Pretty
yeah,
close,
I think
if
like the
not, yeah.
last one he filmed because like he shows up in Endgame as well, like the looking like the 1970s version of himself.
Oh, that was the last one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the last one.
Yeah. With one of the interesting things too about the Clerks movies with when they talk about Star Wars, it's always the beginning of the second act of each of the Clerks movies is when they bring up like they have like a whole
Really
yeah, that's
interesting.
apparently at the beginning of the second act each time.
That's so interesting.
I
Yeah,
never would have picked
There's
up
got to
on
be a
that.
reason behind that. He does that for a reason. There has to be. I would love to know what the reason is behind that because I would never even. That's not even a detail I would notice.
Yeah, that's
He's got to be doing it for a reason, or maybe it's just a fun little game for him. To be like, I always start Star Wars the second act just because gives you a nice lead in to the
yeah.
climax.
That's how he starts writing is talking about Star Wars. You write, just keep writing. That's how he goes off. Oh,
yeah.
but going back to Clerks 3, there's a ton of Mandalorian references in it, and
Oh yeah.
complete with Amy Sedaris being
Yeah. Oh yeah, like he straight up like Randall straight up talks to her
talking to
about the
her about
Mandalorian,
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's seen it, Randall. She lived it. But so I found a site that lists off people or it took a poll and listed people's favorite scenes from the View Askew universe films that had references to Star Wars. So this is like that original View Askew universe. So it's Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, and then Jane Silent Bob Strike Back. So like that first kind of chunk of it. So it doesn't have like Clerks 2 or Clerks 3 on there. Um, so it says for Clerks, it was Dante and Randall talking about Return of the Jedi and the innocent contractors being killed on the second Death Star. While the song Chewbacca song is being played in the background. You guys remember that Chewbacca song?
It was?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'll send it to you. But it's just they're like Chewbacca, Wookiee, and then it's just like a Chewie like going on in it.
Interesting.
The
I guess I was
Mallrats
too
one,
focused on what they were talking on to even hear that
Yeah,
song playing.
yeah, it's a very subtle song that's playing underneath it.
that's
Um,
funny.
Mallrats is after watching Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Silent Bob tries to use the Force.
Mm.
Uh, and he gets the VHS tape using the Force. Chasing Amy, Hooper talks about Star Wars and how the white man keeps the brother down, even in a galaxy far, far away. And
Mm.
then Holden brings up Lando being black and positive role model in the realm of science fiction fantasy. That's where the Nubian came from. And then Dogma, Jay tells Bethany that he feels like Han and she's Obi-Wan, and they're in the bleeped up bar. Also, one that was cut from the original movie, Matt Damon compares the Empire and organized religion, which that is an apt comparison. Uh,
Mhm.
and then Jane Silent Bob. Now watch all the comments. We'll get about that.
Nah. Anything you can mention religion, good or bad. Good, you'll get all the bad comments about how it's terrible. If you mention how it's bad, you get all the bad comments about how it's good. So religion's just a hot button topic.
just kind of washes out.
Hey, if people are commenting, it means the views are going up. So
Yeah, engagement. Uh, then in James and Bob Strike Back, Ben Affleck as Holden talks about Greedo shooting first, and then at the very end, James and Bob have the blunt saber fight with Mark
I
Hamill.
mean, the whole Jane Silent Bob's font, the title, it's all homage to Star Wars too.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and I think that was the first time since Return of the Jedi that Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill had been in the same movie together too,
Oh wow.
which is kind of interesting.
well,
But
I can't even think of other movies Carrie Fisher was in. Same with Mark
oh,
Hamill.
The
the
Burbs.
Burbs, yeah. Oh,
The
there you go.
Burbs is like one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. She's been in other stuff, but she wrote that one movie that won someone an Oscar. So
That one
stupid
movie
to
with
say.
the person that did the thing.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now. But she wrote a movie about basically her and her mother's relationship. I think Meryl Streep was in it, but I can't remember the name of it right now. But I'm like 100% certain she wrote a movie about her and her mom's relationship that won an Oscar. I just don't remember the name of it right now. Or
Oh,
won like
was
Meryl
it
Streep the Oscar.
Wishful Drinking?
Oh, that's her like that's
Oh, like the
her
documentary?
stand up thing. Not
Oh,
really a
okay.
stand up comedy, but it's her kind of like documentary of herself more
Hmm.
than a stand up. I don't want to go. I'll go on IMDb.
Postcards from the Edge.
House Cards from the Edge.
Postcards.
Oh, postcards from the Edge. I'm like house cards. I'm gonna
I
look
think
it
she
up.
worked. Yeah, she
It
actually
was
worked on
nominated
Muppet
for 2
screenplays.
Oscars. So
She
Oh
worked on
yeah.
Hook and
She
Sister
worked on
Act
Hook.
and Last Action Hero. The River Wild. Oh yeah, River Wild. That has Meryl Streep in it, but I don't think that would be about her and her mom.
It is postcards. It's that one. 100%.
Okay,
That one's it. Yeah. See,
I think
I knew.
she worked on The Wedding Singer as well.
she was in
That's interesting.
Scream 3.
Oh yeah, with Jane Silent Bob.
That's right. They were in that.
So there you go. There's that connection again.
I'm not a
As Jay
Scream
and
fan.
Silent Bob.
I
They were
enjoy
in
Scream, and I
Scream. I've
shouldn't.
never seen Scream 3. They were in Scream 3 as Jay
Yeah,
and Silent Bob.
Yeah,
they
as
were.
just randomly in the movie as Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh, I'm so glad I never really watched those.
You can look that up, but yeah, they just like show up randomly
Scream
in the.
1 and
They're
2
like,
were worth it. After that, just all trash.
I mean,
yeah,
did you see the new one?
It was garbage. Oh my god, last year's was terrible. I can't even
Oh,
watch this year's. Like I'm so dreading it.
man, yeah. I was. I don't want to say my opinion because I will.
Well, they were
It'll.
like, it's a tribute to Wes Anderson. I was like, you just made him roll over in his grave. It was so bad. Like, come on.
I
Uh,
hated it. It's like I wait because it came out on
that's Craven, not Anderson.
Paramount Plus, and I was my girlfriend and I watched it,
imagine a
and
Wes Anderson Scream movie.
um,
That'd
Although
be better
actually,
than what just came out.
SNL did do a sketch that was something like a Wes Anderson horror movie like years ago. I remember. I think you can find that. It was they did like some sketch that was like a Wes Anderson horror movie. It wasn't like Scream, but it was what if Wes Anderson directed a horror movie?
Mm.
And I was like, I would actually watch that.
have you seen like the new like the AI things? Like, what if Wes Anderson directed a Star Wars movie,
Oh yeah,
or
or
like
like
Star Wars or Muppets
like
or something like
Avengers.
that? Star Wars or Muppets was the one I saw today, and that one was really funny. Star Wars characters as Muppets. It's pretty hilarious. I should
It's
do.
some weird stuff.
That was
Yeah,
Dante's take on Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, all Jedi had was
Bunch
a,
of Muppets.
a bunch of Muppets.
a bunch of Muppets. That's funny. Good old Dante. Good old Randall.
And then I don't think a lot of people have seen the animated series for Clerks just
I
because
wish I had access to it because I remember it being hilarious.
I have the DVD of it still. Um, but yeah, because they only aired like two or three episodes and they aired them out of order. They aired the clip show episode as the first episode.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw it. I can't sit here and say that I watched that. I don't. I
I
don't
remember
recall.
Mark and I watching it at like
Oh man.
10 o'clock at night.
And there's one thing in one of the episodes that like caught us off guard so much that it like we
Why is
couldn't like
Bear
stop.
driving? Who's
Yeah,
driving? Bear's
like
driving.
how can that be? But yeah, like there's part of one of the episodes that says at this part in the episode, the animators ran out of money. So the rest of this episode is now animated by it said like some like it was somewhere in Asia, so it was supposed to be like cheaper animation, but then
That'd be
it was like
Korea,
anime.
probably. Yeah.
Yes, so it was like anime versions of Dante and Randall, and then they were trying to get out of like a jury house or like a courthouse, not a jury house. And then like, who's driving? Oh no, Bear's driving. How could that be?
Yeah, it was just so random and it's a lot
Or
of context. You're like, why is this funny? But
Got to be
actually
somewhere.
actually thinking about that scene now, there's probably some problematic stuff in that scene now. And I'm thinking about some of the
the whole
stuff.
series probably has problematic stuff in it.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because what we're talking about with Randall and chasing Amy earlier, there's a whole episode of that that's kind of a mixture of the last Starfighter mixed with Temple of Doom, and like Randall plays this video game so well that they bring him to like build this pyramid somewhere, but
Yep,
like
I remember that now.
all the women that are building the pyramid are his former girlfriends of his, but they're now all lesbians because they had dated Randall. So
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's a good or it was I I think they could bring that back or like I remember at one point he talked about doing like like a feature animated film of like the Clerks animated series like that
Mhm.
because it's kind of separate I think continuity from like the live action Clerk stuff.
Might have been the
Um,
only way Jeff Anderson would have done it at one point in time.
yeah. But now he's like talking about them doing Clerks 4 as like Clerks pet cemetery with like that's how he'd want to do it because like he'd only want to do it if he could bring Dante back, but like he goes and buries Dante in the pet cemetery. Oh, well, I guess spoiler alert for Clerks 3. I just totally
Yeah.
forgot
It's been out
when I
long
said that.
enough.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, I mean that's on you at this point.
Yeah. If what's the rule for spoilers? 3 months? Isn't that the
Um,
rule of thumb?
I guess
I
it's
don't
not
know.
even like that anymore. It's like you get the weekend sometimes.
Basically,
yeah,
We live in a
you might
24/7 news society.
yeah.
We need everything now.
still be able to find the Clerks animated series online.
It's got to be somewhere. But then I thought that about Dogma too. So
Didn't
Oh, you
Harvey
can buy.
Weinstein bury that?
Oh, geez. I think that's half the reason that it's not on DVD or it isn't sold anymore on DVD is because of like the rights issue with that. And I guess
Mm.
for what it would cost for Kevin Smith to buy the rights for that when it effectively be like cost prohibitive to him to do that, which kind of sucks. Um, yeah, it looks like well, if anything, you can buy the season of the Clerks animated series on Apple TV for $6. So
Yeah, it's there.
that's not bad.
yeah, so there you go. Just drop the $6 and then you can watch it.
Yeah, a little gift to
But
myself.
yeah, yeah. At least it's not $15, little man.
7 month early birthday gift.
$22.79 on Amazon.
Yeah, so you can buy the digital or the physical or both. Do whatever you want. Um, but yeah,
If you're Mark, you're
now
doing physical copies. If you're
no,
me, you're doing digital copies.
yeah, and then if you're Mike,
You
what
just
are
do
you doing?
nothing.
There you go.
I prefer the physical one, but I'd probably go digital just for money's
Space.
sake. Space, yeah, but
It's definitely space for me with when it comes to that sort of thing. We have nothing. We run a small production company out of this apartment. I got comic books galore over there that you can't see. Like I can't have physical copies of DVDs anymore.
Just off screen is half of my collection. Um, I guess to wrap things up, the one of the last things I would want to say is like specifically with like Kevin Smith and like the whole Jay and Silent Bob stuff is also that like when Jay and Silent Bob have usually shown up in other places, like they showed up on The Flash, or I don't even think they were supposed to be Jay and Silent Bob, but they pretty much were Jay and Silent Bob. In one of these past seasons, there's lots of Star Wars references within that episode. And I also noticed any of the times that like he didn't write any of the episodes that he directed, but anytime he either directed an episode of The Flash or Supergirl, those episodes felt like Kevin Smith movies in that way.
mhm.
Just because the writers of those episodes knew that he was going to be directing them, so I think they wrote to kind of
Right.
be within that vein of that stuff. So even if you don't watch those shows, I would almost suggest looking up and checking out those episodes that he directed of both of those series. Just because,
What about Degrassi High? Didn't he direct a bunch of those?
oh yeah, and an episode of Reaper, the pilot Reaper. Remember Reaper?
No.
Wait, did he really
Oh,
direct episodes of Degrassi?
I'm pretty sure.
yeah, or I think maybe just Jay and Silent Bob showed up on the next generation of that.
Yeah, they're in it. I know that.
Weird. That's like an odd little thing that I didn't know that at all. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about Degrassi anyway.
I've never watched it. I just know he was involved with it for some reason.
Isn't that where Drake came from?
Yeah,
I
there's
believe
just
so, unfortunately.
See, that's all I know about
yeah,
it.
there's
That's
just a
the
joke
extent.
to that on Abbott Elementary recently too about Drake being from Degrassi. So it's like a go-to joke.
Yeah, just like Drake, a joke. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
Didn't he just get like implicated in hiring someone to murder someone?
Maybe.
I
Those
thought I read
Canadians,
that.
they can be a little crazy sometimes.
He started at the bottom. Now he's here, right? Now,
uh, I don't know anything about that man or care anything about him either.
Yeah, same.
Was Before we go completely off the rails, was there any last things that you'd wanted to discuss in relation to stuff that is both Kevin Smith and Star Wars related that was maybe like your favorite thing out of where they
If you
coalesced?
if you read one of the articles I put in there, when he talks about the Star Wars movie he wanted to make, it's time
Yeah.
traveling Boba Fett. So
Oh,
I'd be like, I'd want to
In
see it.
the world between worlds.
Yeah,
that'd be
Uh,
super
uh,
interesting, actually. Yeah,
that's what
do
I
it. Do
thought.
it, Kevin Smith. I just
and he goes back and fights Django.
I
and
can't remember what he. Well, this was he thought of it before the prequel, so that wasn't in the included in
Oh,
his
okay.
okay,
description of what the movie would be. But
That'd be interesting.
that would be.
you could probably do a Clerks Star Wars movie
Yeah, kind of
in a
similar to
sense.
like, like the Family Guy uh
Yeah,
Star Wars trilogy, basically. I really
yeah.
do think there's like potential there for them to do more Clerks animated series stuff.
That's how you can bring Dante back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you could do like a whole Star Wars episode in that.
yeah. Every other animated show's kind of done that. Phineas and Ferb. Um, yeah, that's the
Robot
only one I
Chicken.
can. Yeah, Robot Chicken.
Oh, Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken's got done a couple of them. They also Robot Chicken's great. They do great parodies of things.
Yeah. Uh, and then what would you say is like your favorite Kevin Smith slash Star Wars coalesced thing,
For me,
Adam? Yeah,
I honestly just I love how he had the cameos. I love how he had Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. Um, and I really just appreciate the fact that he melded two worlds. I can't think of anything like specific that I liked because I love Kevin Smith, so it's difficult to pick like one
Mm.
specific thing. But I guess like the the lightsaber or blunt battle. I would say that just because it's so funny and ridiculous,
yeah,
and just the things that Mark Hamill says in it about it,
Yeah.
just like we were discussing earlier, like this, just so fun, and it was fun to see like Mark Hamill do that stuff again too, because that definitely was like the first time he had done anything like that since Return of the Jedi.
yeah.
No
Don't
more
F with the
voiceover.
Jedi Master, son.
So that would be my favorite, just because lightsabers.
It's a good one. And
I
then
stick with twofold, like the Clerks original one. Just the fact that it helps me. Like anytime he mentions it, though, like but Clerks stands out because it was the first time I remember being like, "Wow, I'm normal for talking about Star Wars the way I do."
yeah,
And, like it helped normalize me, and then the fact that he keeps it going throughout all his movies just makes me connect with his movies that much more. So
yeah, and
that
I
the fact that he
I
keeps
think
it going. So
yeah, I think I agree with that too, just because he finds a way of both talking about the like I don't know, like geeky reference of it, but then he also
mm,
kind of turns it around like he does like within his movies by making it like a kind of like heartful um expression of something like with Dante saying
mm,
I mean that's what life is, it's a series of down endings. So he finds a way to both reference like the stuff that he loves but then also put in like a good like a well
mm.
written line about something that expresses something really well. So that is, I think, definitely one of my favorite things about his movies and stuff that he writes. So
Because I mean, think about Mallrats where he's practicing the Force in his hand. Who doesn't go to the grocery store and go like this on the doors
oh
and
yeah,
watch them open like we actually did it ourselves? Like
Do it in the elevator pretty
exactly.
yeah.
much every single time. Just go whoop. Right when I know the door is going to open, I'll just open it myself.
I did that when I was at Galaxy's Edge too, with the doors open like that. I was like, this is the most opportune place
Yep.
to do this.
Yeah, have
But
to. Been
yeah,
doing it for years.
but I think that will wrap us up for this episode with talking about Kevin Smith and the VIEW ASKEWNIVERSE. We'll come back in couple weeks here when the Mandalorian makes its way to us. Uh, see what I did there. But in the meantime, you can leave us a review on whatever podcast catcher you listen to stuff on, or if you're watching this on YouTube, do all that stuff that everybody says at the end of their videos.
The thumb, the bell,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do
Click
all the
subscribe
things.
right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Wherever it is.
Or right there,
Those are
wherever
the
it is. Yeah, we'll act like we don't know where that is, even though it ends up in the same spot in every place.
Yep. It's always in the same spot.
Here's episode 36. Here's episode 35.
Yeah. That would be cool if I could do that, but now this will be too far before that. Although maybe I'll try that.
I think you can pick the episodes it puts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, depending on where like that stuff actually shows up within the episode. If I got it to work, you'll notice while you're watching this right now. But you can find the show on social media at HoldoPod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's HoldoPod in all the spots now. Individually, this stuff's all in the show notes. So
just read the notes.
Yeah, read. Mike's there. Adam will be there.
People will read again.
Our editor Vactor's information is there, and then you can also email us at holdopod@gmail.com.
Vactor here. We just want to say well done to Holdo for 1 year of podcasting. This is the way.
All right, and so this is also our 1 year anniversary of the
1 year.
Yeah.
So it feels like such an honor to be here now for the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
And 37 in a row.
Yep. He's the 37th.
Unbelievable day.
You're 37. But yeah, so if you've been listening since February of last year, thank you. But yeah, this is the 1 year anniversary of Holdo, and thank you again for listening, everybody.